In this video, I've put some practice questions on mechanical comprehension for you to prepare for the ASVAB test. How many kilograms is a cow on a trailer if 1,200 newtons of force are acting on it? In the problem we're given here, the weight in newtons, weight or newtons of force due to gravity is calculated using this formula. W equals mg, where m is the mass and then g is the acceleration due to gravity. Alright, W here is the weight in newtons, m is the mass in kilograms, and g is the acceleration due to gravity. And g is just equivalent to 9.8 meter per second squared. Since we are asked to solve for the mass in kilograms, we just have to derive this formula to solve for the mass. Now to derive the formula to solve for the mass, we just have to divide both sides of the formula by g. Alright, this cancels out. Then our mass is just equivalent to the weight over the acceleration due to gravity. Then we just have to plug in what's given. We're given here 1,200 newtons for the weight. So we plug that in here, 1,200. And then the acceleration due to gravity, which is 9.8 meter per second squared. Actually, Newton is just equivalent to kilograms times meter per second squared. And then meter per second squared cancels out. Then we are left with kilogram as our unit for the mass. Then 1,200 divided by 9.8, and that is equivalent to 122 kilograms. So this is our answer here. Tension can best be called, or the answer here is force. Can best be called a force. Since tension is the internal stretch force of an object like a rope. Alright, which of the following situations requires overcoming the least amount of kinetic friction? So we've got choices here. Pushing a refrigerator in its box down a path, pushing a refrigerator in its box down an icy path, pushing an empty refrigerator box down a path, pushing an empty refrigerator box down on an icy path. The answer here is pushing an empty refrigerator box down on an icy path, because this one requires overcoming the least amount of kinetic friction. And kinetic friction is the force that opposes the motion of two surfaces that are sliding against each other. And the amount of kinetic friction depends on the materials of the two surfaces and the force pressing them together. And ice is a very smooth surface, so it has a low coefficient of friction. So this means that there is less force of kinetic friction between an object and an icy surface than between an object and a rough surface. And the weight of the object also affects the amount of kinetic friction. And a heavier object has more force pressing it against the surface, so it will have more kinetic friction. So pushing an empty refrigerator box down an icy path will require overcoming the least amount of kinetic friction, because the ice is a smooth surface and the refrigerator box is relatively light. I meant the empty refrigerator box. Which of the following is the basis for Pascal's law? The amplification of force in a hydraulic system, the manner in which liquids conform to their container, the definition of pressure as pounds per square inch, the relationship between force and volume of a liquid. Now let's define what Pascal's law is first. So Pascal's law, named after the French mathematician and physicist Blaise Pascal, he states that when there is an increase in pressure to any part in a confined fluid, there is an equal increase in pressure at every other point in the fluid. So this principle forms the basis for the functioning of hydraulic systems. So in a hydraulic system, a small force applied to a small piston can be amplified or transmitted to a larger force through a larger piston by utilizing the principles of Pascal's law. So this allows for the amplification of force, making hydraulic systems effective in various applications such as machinery, automotive, braking systems, and hydraulic lifts. So the answer here is amplification of force in a hydraulic system. This one. Alright, gears are used to change direction of force, change rotational speed, decrease mechanical advantage, change both rotational speed and direction of force. The answer here is change both rotational speed and direction of force. So gears are used to both change rotational speed and direction of force, and gears are toothed wheels that mesh together and transmit rotational motion and force between them. So they have different sizes and numbers of teeth, which allows them to change the speed and direction of rotation. When two gears of different sizes are meshed together, the gear with fewer teeth or smaller gear will rotate faster than the gear with more teeth or larger gear. So this change in rotational speed is used to transmit power and control the speed of different components in machinery. And also, gears can change the direction of force. When two meshed gears have their teeth arranged in such a way that they rotate in opposite directions, the force and motion are redirected. For example, a pair of meshed gears can change the direction of rotation from horizontal to vertical or vice versa. So the gears can change both rotational speed and direction of force. When a machine compounds the force you use, it gives you A or N: output leverage, mechanical advantage, output advantage, or mechanical leverage. The answer here is mechanical advantage. So mechanical advantage is the advantage gained by using a simple machine to complete a task. It is a measure of the force amplification that occurs when we use tools like levers or gears or pulley systems. Weight is the blank amount of stuff in an object, density of matter in an object, gravity generated by an object, force exerted on an object due to gravity. The answer here is this one. So weight is the force exerted on an object due to gravity, and it is a measure of the gravitational force pulling on an object's mass. The weight of an object is directly proportional to its mass, meaning that the more massive an object is, the greater its weight will be when subjected to the same gravitational field. Then the standard unit of measurement for weight is Newton in SI, or International System of Units.